With all the talk of hacking lately, it makes people wonder, what's the next target? Critical infrastructure like our energy grid, financial institutions, and the telecom system all get special attention. Transportation also falls into that category. And while there have been no cyber threats toward the airlines, at least none that we know of, Scott Cohn tells us there is one person who thinks this is a real safety concern.
Brad Haynes was born a hacker.
I was one of those kids that was always curious, always liked science. Took apart the vacuum cleaner as a kid, always wanted to know how things worked.
Haynes, who goes by the hacker alias Renderman, does IT support for a small company in Canada by day. Sometimes by night, he wows his friends as an escape artist. But his real passion is beating something tougher than handcuffs: high-tech security systems.
A security system is supposed to keep people out. Well, finding ways to bypass that is kind of neat.
His latest target, the FAA's next-generation air traffic control system, which, when it's fully in place by the end of this decade, is supposed to make flying more convenient and dependable. Renderman says what it really does is to make the whole system vulnerable to hackers.
No good is going to come of this.
The problem, he says, is that the system uses GPS data instead of just radar.
The problem with this is that the signals that they're using are unencrypted and unauthenticated. Because it's unauthenticated, you can't prove that this actually came from the real plane.
In theory, that means hackers could mess up the system by generating flights that don't exist.
You could theoretically ground everybody.
Or they could target a real flight with frightening precision.
Anyone can now generate the same kind of data and inject it into the system for whatever nefarious purpose they can imagine.
Renderman and a fellow hacker put data that would be used in the FAA system, known as NextGen, into a flight simulator to show what could happen if the system is hacked.
We were able to create a flight. We were able to take off from San Francisco Airport, circle over the bay, come back, and buzz the tower.
The consequence of putting a ghost flight on the air traffic controller's panel could be disastrous.
The air traffic controller is one of the most stressful jobs out there. Now, if I suddenly injected 50 extra flights onto their radar screen that they hadn't expected, they're going to be panicking trying to figure out what's going on.
University of Texas professor Todd Humphreys, an expert on navigation systems, believes Renderman is onto something, a potentially catastrophic flaw that could put all of us at risk.
It ought to be obvious to the FAA. This is an obvious problem. This is something that is using antiquated technology from the 1980s.
Renderman says he brought his evidence to the FAA, but claims they ignored him. We asked the FAA about that, and a spokesman defended the system, saying the agency has a thorough process in place to identify and mitigate risks. The process is ongoing, and there are backups to ensure safe operations. In the statement, the FAA declines to say just what the risks are that it identified, saying that information is security sensitive. I'm Scott Cohn for the Nightly Business Report.